some of these women thinking that they can't do the job because they don't really know what they're doing and they're not getting the right support. And actually, if they were given the right support and the right framework and background, I think they would be fine. It's just nice to be able to support women in an industry that is still male dominated. Women are less likely to apply for jobs if we don't meet all the criteria. Men will apply regardless of whether they have any of the criteria. That kind of female mentality that we like to know everything in order to have an opinion. You do just get stuck in the daily grind. It's not an easy industry to work in, especially as a broker.
Tell me, what is Women in Mortgages?
It was hard to have your voice heard in those environments when, you are one of the only women in the room.
Women in Mortgages, this is for you today. I mean, the whole show is for you. It's called The Money Honey. It's about women in the property, the finance and the construction sector. So it's always for you. But welcome back to another show with me, your host, Rosalia Lazzarettilli. And today I want to highlight a leader, a true leader in our industry who not only has a day job, motherhood and her own life to juggle, but she's actually taken upon herself to create a community within our mortgage industry to help women who feel lost, feel alone, who are building a business on their own or are building a business with others but don't feel heard and supported. And let's just face it, in general, the mortgage industry, we've got so many plates to juggle, so many things change. In fact, this lady today just showed me exactly what it feels like to be a mortgage broker in the industry, because stuff's hit her desk, like lenders changing rates, and she nearly cancelled the show. I didn't bully her into it, but I kind of encouraged her to just do it anyway, because you can't let life dictate what you do with your voice and how you show up. You've got to work on the business and in the business. And I know this is going to be really important to her, that she's going to probably have a bad day if she never did it in the first place. So the mortgage industry is always going to throw something at you, rates changing, lenders pulling out, the mortgage market doing what it's doing. But how do we continue to navigate through it? And this is an example. I kind of reminded her, Kate, remember who you are. Like, remember this is why you do what you do, because the stuff hits your desk, the situations change, but you still show up. So here she is showing up regardless of what her day, is happening. It's not going to plan. However, she's here because she is a powerful voice for women in our industry. So without further ado, if you haven't guessed already, it's the wonderful Kate Fuller.
Hi, hello, thank you so much. That was such a nice intro.
And I mean every word, because
Thank you.
Yeah, so behind the scenes when you were like, oh, my day, my God, it's gone crazy, I was like, this is who you are though, Kate. You show up anyway. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do for those people who might not know you.
So I'm Kate Fuller. I've been in mortgages for just over 20 years. Started when I was quite young. And then I've had my family, maternity, bringing up my children while trying to juggle it all. They're now 17 and 15, so I've got the other side of having teenagers. I run my own business. We've got 9 advisors. I also own an estate agent. And I founded Women in Mortgages, nearly 3 years ago.
Yeah, so Women in Mortgages is this community on Facebook that you have, which brings together, like I said, women who are either building their businesses on their own, or they're in a company and they just need that female empowering support system. Tell me, what is Women in Mortgages?
Do you know what? When I set it up, I was a bit like, I don't really know I didn't really have a huge plan. It was more along the lines of, I'd go to events and you'd often be one of 2, 3 women in the room, especially the smaller events that you get invited to. And it just felt sometimes that it was hard to have your voice heard in those environments when, you are one of the only women in the room. And, as women, we have different experiences and different lives and different, ways of dealing with stuff, and different things happen to us. A lot of us take on much more caring responsibilities in the home and all of that juggle. And I think it just felt like there wasn't really a space for us to have those conversations and to give each other the support that I know I need from other women. So, and I know there's a few other groups that had already done similar things, like Women in Estate Agency have a fantastic Facebook group, so that kind of stuff already existed. And I was like, well, is there a space for women in mortgages like that? And there wasn't. So I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to do it. Let's just do it and see what happens. And yeah, I mean, we're at 1,500 women sitting in that group now, which feels very crazy to me, but the feedback is just phenomenally positive constantly about how nice and friendly and kind and helpful the group is. And it's such a nice thing to have been involved in doing, to allow women this space to really kind of have time to think about the things that are important to them and get the support from people who are probably feeling really similar.
Yeah, that's why I love the group, and it aligns so much with the ethos of the Money Honey. Again, it's more podcast focused and podcast related because I got, whispers in my ear about 2 years ago where people were like, there's just not enough female faces out there. And I'm like, well, if you want more female faces out there, you have to be the female face out there. You kind of have to put yourself
Yeah.
out there. And then I was like, oh, but I don't know how. And I was like, well, okay, well, I'll facilitate it. I'll host something and then you come on the show and it's become a full-time job, to be honest, but I can't let it go. Like there are times, Kate, where I felt like giving up. It is costly, I'm not going to lie, but editing episodes, paying the team to upload things, which is why we're so like committed to our filming days, days like this. We don't want to have gaps and stuff like that because it's so important for us to just make sure that we deliver value week on week on week, and it's a commitment that I've made, and it's a commitment I don't want to like let people down on.
Yeah.
But that's how it started. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to evolve, but all I know is that we've interviewed over 100 women in this space.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's been such a journey, and it's been so nice getting to know everyone's stories. So tell me what happens in the Women in Mortgages group. Like what kind of because I only see the Facebook element, like where people join. What actually, how is it set up and what do you do?
Well, that's kind of the main part of the group. So it is really the Facebook group, allowing people to have the space to ask the questions they want to ask without, feeling comfortable and safe in that environment to ask them. And there's a lot of mortgage industry related questions in there, but there's been some other chats around stuff like, menopause and, juggling childcare and working part time and all those kind of things that impact women as well. We started doing a very small podcast that we've done a couple of things on, and trying to highlight those other women in the industry that are really helping to bring something different, like Kim at Vibe, bringing in the Specialist Finance Academy, and how fantastic that is and how much it can actually help women in the group, and having a space where I can showcase some of that to allow people to see it who might not have seen it otherwise is really powerful, I think. Because a lot of these women are working self-employed from home. They're not going to an office every day. They don't have a big team around them. They don't have women mentors that are in senior leadership roles above them. And I think having a space where they can get access to, other women that are doing great things, it's just, it's inspiring, isn't it? And motivating and it just helps you sometimes get through those tough days. Um,
100%.
yeah, and I know, like, I this week for me has been really overwhelming. Like I said to you this morning, and it is, but it is. I'm so grateful to be in a position where I can use my voice, and sometimes that does get a little bit scary and freak me out a little bit. So, you know,
What do you use your voice for? How are you using your voice?
I think I really, for me, I just like helping people. So, to be honest, any way that I can help somebody, I'm always willing to do it. And I think so, just being kind and helpful. And I feel like that sometimes is missing in life in general. Not the industry itself is pretty good with being helpful, but I don't know if the kind is always where it should be. But but it's nice to have a space to just let people know they're not alone. I think is the
And what do you
biggest
think
part.
people are feeling when you say, this space is so that people aren't feeling alone? What are they bringing to this group? As in, what kind of burdens and feelings do you think you can see people feeling?
I think a lot of it is around feeling overwhelmed, under trained, under supported. I think there's a lack of coaching and mentoring going on that's really impacting some of these women thinking that they can't do the job because they don't really know what they're doing and they're not getting the right support. And actually, if they were given the right support and the right framework and background, I think they would be fine. And I think it's very easy to think when you have bad weeks or bad days that you're actually just not good, and that's why it's gone this way. And I think women are quite critical of themselves generally in that, blaming themselves rather than externally. And I think sometimes it's just a reminder of, we get people posting about their bad days or something's happened and it's upset them. And it's just then having the responses, look, this isn't you, this is just bad luck, or this is just what happens sometimes. We've all been there, just keep going. And I think it's nice to have that kind of community spirit of we're all here, we've all got your back. Just we're here. I know it's over the internet and it's in your phone and it's a bit faceless at times, but it is, we are there if you need us. And I think that's the key crux of what I like about what we've created with Women in Mortgages, that there's now this group of women that are really getting some decent support externally that they probably weren't getting before particularly well.
I don't. I've been in the mortgage industry for 10 years now. I started in 2015. So yeah, 2025 is literally my
Yeah,
my 10th year. And what I felt was always like I was always the last to know. Everyone always knew more than me. And I was entering this industry as a 25-year-old BDM. And I was getting remarks like, well, she's obviously been hired because she's pretty. By the way, I was not considering myself as that. As in, I would never have put myself as like the model BDM or like the pretty BDM at all. But I came in and it was like, oh, she's been hired because she's young, pretty, and energetic. And I was like, oh my God, I am labeled as like the friendly person who is easy to talk to, and you'll let her in through the door because, she's a BDM. But actually, I felt so inferior with my knowledge, and a lot is left to just pick it up as you go along. Like I
yeah,
literally got a job as a BDM for doing bridging and commercial, and I didn't even have a normal mortgage at the time. Like 10 years ago, I don't even know what a loan to value on a normal residential mortgage would be, let alone bridging loans. I was so uneducated, but I was always honest. I was always like, I'll figure that out. Let me know what you want me to do. I even paid Kate for, this is how much the industry didn't provide support. I paid £1,000 of my own income, and I went on a private course, a property course, where like landlords and investors were keen on investing in property. And so I was in that course as like kind of mystery shopping. I wasn't. I nearly did
yeah.
buy 12 properties on a credit card. My mum was like, "What are you doing?" But I was like, "Mum, I'm in. I'm sucked into this course." But I was technically just there to work out like, how are people calculating their buy to lets and stuff. And I did that off my own bat and like with my own money. That's how unsupported I felt. No one's fault. Like my boss was like, Ros, you'll figure it out. Like just keep going. But it's not enough, is it, sometimes?
No, and I think the push, the push we've seen towards remote working and home working, although it's great for flexible working and for women to be able to do flexible working around childcare and things like that, it has made the job a bit more lonely because working at your your desk or your office in your house all day, we're only speaking to clients and never having your colleagues around you listening. And and you're missing the coaching and mentoring part of being in an office as well, of like hearing conversations and things like that, and it becomes a very lonely space. So I set the group up because I was struggling in a world that felt there was just so many men that I just wasn't getting enough female influence in my life from people, and I was worried about other people, other women working in these environments where they were just a woman with all these men. But actually, I think helping with people feeling lonely has become more noticeably as one of the great things of the group that I hadn't really kind of factored in at first would be something that would happen. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great that there's so much more flexibility out there now in regards to what women can do and work. When my kids were little, I worked in an estate agent and I had to be there. Like I had to work in the office. I worked every Saturday for over a decade. I worked full time out the house, and it wasn't even it. I did occasionally do like a couple of days where I'd finish at school hours, and even that was unusual, like back then. So it's great, so great that we've moved on. But I worry that there's a gap in the support that then people are getting, and I'm hoping that even though the group isn't enough to fill it completely, it's filling it a little bit.
Oh, you are
So
doing amazing. No, it is enough. You are enough. Your group has its place. You've got 1,500 people. It just goes to show, I've got the Money Honey, you've got the group. There is something obviously I'm coming to your
yeah.
podcast coming soon, and I'm going to give some free educational material to the women there, because again, I was waving my hands in the air whilst you were talking, because I literally was head banging to everything you were saying, because I so relate. Now, one of my beliefs is working from home holds you back from your career. I believe that to be so true, because I know I work from home. I'm in my shed at the moment. However, when I worked for a lender, I was working from home, and my learning about that lender was being capped by the fact that I was at home on my own. I couldn't
Yeah.
get hold of the underwriters. I wasn't around my colleagues in the office. I wasn't able to overhear people speaking. And I give that advice to university grads as well, and people at school. I say the worst thing you can do is apply for a working from home job. And they're like, yeah, but I want the flexibility. I'm like, you're 21. You need to go to work, roll your sleeves up. You need to be
Yeah.
around people in the office, overhearing people chatting. When I was in sales and I was in the office environment and I'd finish a sales call, someone would turn around and be like, Roz, that was great. Next time, do this. Or I would like pretend to be writing an email, but I'm really secretly listening to my colleague. And I'm like, that was a great sales call. I'm going to do that next time. Whereas when I worked for a lender, I was like, I'm working from home. I can't overhear how the underwriter is discussing that deal, and I'm being held back. And then I lost my job during COVID. I was working from home in my business, and I'm 5 years in, and I know from the outside, everyone's like, Rose, you're smashing it. You're amazing. Where was I learning from? I had no one around me.
Yeah.
I had no marketing experience in terms of like working in a business. I just have my own marketing knowledge of what I've picked up as a millennial, growing up with social media. But I probably would have been so further ahead in my business had I had come from a marketing agency background, overhearing my colleagues. Whereas I'm
Yeah.
at home with my four walls that I've painted pink and yellow, and I'm like, what shall I do today, Roz? What do you think would be good? So I have to force myself to get out. I have to dress up. I have to go to networking events. I have to speak online, because that's my other way of networking with people and doing things like this.
Yeah.
This gives me so much companionship. Like, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's it, isn't it? And I think, otherwise you do just get stuck in the daily grind, and it can, and the industry's tough. It's not an easy industry to work in, especially as a broker. It's tough. It's tough out there, and I feel that I always say to my team, look, especially when they're having tough weeks or we have tough one-to-ones and they're stressed. Look, I can take away some of it. There are some things I can do to try and help, but I can't get rid of all of it. This is just a stressful job. It's a stressful job. It's a stressful industry.
It
You
is.
can't remove all of that. It's just not possible, and I think sometimes you need the camaraderie around you to really kind of be like, okay, it's not me, it's just tough. But also, I think, like you said, you need people around you to celebrate the wins as well. So one of the things I've been really trying to do on the group, is we have positivity posts. So we have a Sunday photo of the week
Yeah.
share, which everyone seems to love, which I think is fantastic, and I love seeing everyone's photos every week. And sometimes it surprises me because I forget because it's an auto post, and that I'm like, oh, I've suddenly got all these notifications of all these photos. And it's great seeing what people get up to every week, and it's always a positive photo. And I feel like it's a really nice way to end the week, looking at something positive you did that week. And every Friday we have a post that was actually inspired by someone else, some of the others on the group. But it's about what was your lender wins this week, like what went well this week, which lenders do you want to shout out this week. And I feel like that is important because some of the
Nice.
lenders are doing really great stuff, and it's easy to fall into that trap of just being negative and being like, oh, it was a hard day, it was a hard day, it was a hard day, it's busy. But sometimes you need that lift up. Actually, that was a win, and we need to celebrate that win. And we need to remember it. remember it. I've got a folder in my emails now in my inbox that's just for my positivity stuff. So everything that I'm like, if I get invited to do a podcast, or I get invited to go to, be on a panel, or something that feels like it's, a real win, or a really nice email from a client, and when I'm having a bad day, it's nice to have that folder to just then go back through and be like, I do know what I'm doing and it is okay.
Yeah, and that's such a nice thing. I hope everyone listening takes something away from this podcast, any podcast that they listen to, either a top tip or an action point. And that's such a great action point. Keeping a positivity record. That's so. And I give this as a top tip when people say I've got imposter syndrome. I'm like, go back through your client reviews, go and read them all again, go and read how people have appreciated you and valued you. And that is so true for mortgage brokers, because you helped someone get a roof over their head, or you helped them protect their family from, critical illness. Like, you did that, you orchestrated that, and you need to be proud of it. And I get this, Kate, and I look forward to seeing your group when I come in. But when I get a new client that wants to take on the challenge of marketing and advertising themselves, right, and putting themselves out there, I get this blockage from women where they're like, oh, I don't want to say that because I don't want to sound like I know everything. There's always this thing that they just don't know enough, and they don't want to do videos or posts
Yeah.
because they're afraid that someone online is going to comment, oh, that's BS, that's not right, that's not true, I'd do it this way. And I was like, oh, but if they're talking like that, it doesn't sound like they're trying to help. They're trying to make you look bad so that they look good. Whereas if for any reason you expressed something that you felt was true in that video, but someone commented and wanted to help and say, that's great, Kate. However, do remember that there is actually another lender who would let you do X, Y, Z. That some helping is different to putting someone down. And no one's claiming to know everything. That's the difference. It's like women are putting this pressure on themselves that they can't do anything like that until they are perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's like the job stats things, isn't it? Like, women are less likely to apply for jobs if we don't meet all the criteria. Whereas
Yeah.
men will apply regardless of whether they have any of
Just
the
one
criteria.
box. They're
Yeah.
like, tick, yeah.
And it's that kind of female mentality that we don't like. We like to know everything in order to have an opinion. And mortgages, it's taken a while, but you can't know everything, and it changes all the time. You can't keep up with it, and there's no way you'll ever know all of it, but it's something you have to get your head round, and it's and
You have to
and
know
it
where
is.
to go, right? You have to know
Yeah.
how to find the
Yeah.
answers, rather, because you're like today, you said, lenders have just dropped their rates or
Put
increased
them
their,
up.
I hope, put them up. Well, gosh, the opposite, right? So they've
Yeah.
just put them up. But what do you do in that situation? If this is your first time as a mortgage broker experiencing this, you just need to know, okay, when this happens, this is the map. This is where I go, rather than, oh, I should have known this by now. Like, why would
Yeah.
you know? Because you didn't know that
Yeah.
was about to happen. So true. Yeah, I
No.
totally relate to that.
And I think, there's sometimes there are newer brokers. There's quite a lot of new brokers actually in the group, or people that have just done CMAP and things like that. Because I'm quite happy to just, you've got some tenuous link to mortgages. You can come in this group. There's BDMs in there. There's marketing people in
Yeah,
there.
I'm in there. I'm not
Yeah.
even a mortgage broker.
There's people from lenders. There's people from networks. It's not exclusive to brokers. And actually, that's been really rewarding, and it's really enriched the voices, because you're not just getting brokers, because brokers are a certain breed as well. We all are salespeople at heart, so it's nice having some people that are more analytical or more, thoughtful, because brokers can be a little bit slapdash, just let's just do it, let's go,
Yeah.
rather than
But I
actually
also,
reflecting better.
I do think that's a flaw with the broker role, though, in terms of like becoming a broker, not what you just said, as in, you get your qualification CMAP and all of a sudden you're self-employed running your own business. You only studied how to be CMAP qualified. You only studied how to be a broker. You didn't study marketing. You didn't study or have experience of how to run a business. And I think that's a flawed model where you go self-employed immediately and run your own business, and you've got all this autonomy, but you also have all this pressure and all these unanswered
Yeah,
questions. I think there should be some sort of like, I don't know, initiation period where you're actually learning how to actually run a business, how to market a business, because you say that brokers are salespeople, but actually I've found many brokers along my way, because I've been doing it for 10
yeah, yeah.
years now. I've been in many offices, literally from Canary Wharf skyscrapers to people's back gardens and their spare room, operating, mortgage businesses. And actually, some people aren't very good at sales at all. They don't have a follow-up system. They don't know how to
Yeah.
convert a lead into a customer,
But they're
or
not
they
taught
don't
that
even know.
stuff.
No, and
No,
or
it's not
they don't know
easy
how to
now.
upsell. Like
No.
they don't even know how to upsell. Like, you're not talking to them about protection because you don't know how to talk about protection. So
Yeah.
there's a gap there for coaching brokers. Like Kim obviously is coaching people how
With the
to
specialist
enter
finance.
specialist
Yeah.
finance, and I'm doing it from a marketing perspective. So there's something there, but yeah, thinking
There is
about
some
it.
there
Yeah,
is something there, and I've been trying hard, and I've actually got some content that does kind of fill some of that gap a little bit, but I
nice.
but I don't have any hours in my day, like
Maybe you need a
already.
social media manager. Maybe you need a content creation manager. I don't know who I would call for that, but maybe you just, yeah, because you definitely are playing it safe. Like, from how phenomenal the concept is to how public it is, I think there's a gap there. There is a way to level it up. But then you're really well known in the industry. I'm not going to take that away from you. You've been a judge at awards, haven't you? Tell us a
Yeah,
little bit
that's
about that.
fantastic. I love doing that. So I've done it twice now, and it's the best thing. Like, it's a little bit time consuming. Don't get me wrong, reading all the
Yeah.
entries, but it's so amazing to see, and it's so hard to like be like, yeah, that one. Like, it's so difficult, particularly the women's recognition. Like, that was so tough. The competition is just incredible,
Which is
and the
good.
women.
I'm
Oh,
so
it's
happy to hear that women
fantastic.
are, yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's because it's outside of our comfort zone as well, isn't it? Entering awards and putting all that out there about how great we are. Like, it's not really. For most people, it's outside of comfort zone.
I didn't
So
even enter. I didn't even enter. I got nominated. I was like, oh, for goodness sake, I
yeah,
appreciate the nomination, but now I have to enter. I have to apply because I have to, I too get like that imposter syndrome. And I do fear that, oh my gosh, someone's going to read my application. And especially when you're out there, like, I'm not exactly quiet online, and I'm not, invisible. So because I'm so public with everything that I do, you feel the highs and you feel the lows, and you
yeah,
feel exposed. So, and I know I'm the orchestrator of that. I did that. But it means that when someone's reading my application or reading my post, I'm like, eee, like they're like, literally, I feel so naked, like I feel so
yeah,
seen. But
yeah.
oh,
I know it is hard. It is scary. Like, I know when we started the group, obviously there wasn't as many people in it as there, so there wasn't as many posts. And I knew that, like, the more traffic, the better, because it would encourage people to remember it to post. And it felt a little bit, for a little while, like my own blog, because
yeah,
because you just have to keep the momentum going. So it is nice now that it's not quite that that much work, not quite that much work for me from that perspective. Although I
yeah,
do make an effort to make sure that I reply to the vast majority of posts, and I check through every day to see if there's any posts that haven't had replies, because I know how upsetting that can feel on the other side of it. So
yeah,
I try really hard to make sure but yeah, like you said, it can be a bit scary putting yourself out there, can't it? And I have found that a little bit, from all of this, like you said, my profile's been lifted. You become a little bit more well known, and then you're like, oh, this is actually a little bit scary. like
yes,
and you do sometimes worry about, if I post this, am I going to get a random judgment or
yes,
a random comment, and do I really need that in my life right now? Can I cope with that mentally, or should I just not post? And it's kind of, and you think it's stupid having to make that decision, but sometimes you have to protect yourself from something actually spiraling right in your own head, even if it's not
yeah.
reality.
Yeah. Exactly. I was just about to say, and you caught yourself saying it because I thought you were going to say you have to protect yourself from other people's comments. You can't, because you can't control how other
No.
people perceive you. It's about protecting yourself from the comments in your head that you're worried about this and that. And what does that mean? Like sometimes, people say things, you're like, oh, what does that mean? And what does that, but it's their thing. It's their thing.
Yeah.
It's not yours. You're projecting, their stuff onto you, and it's not a problem that you
Yeah.
had until they said something. And and you're carrying their problem. It's like that's on them. If that's how they feel, that's on them. As long as I can sleep at night, knowing that I was true and I didn't go out of my way to hurt anyone, then
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Like, you
Yeah.
can think whatever you want. There are people that probably are like, oh, here she goes again. Or, I've had people, by the way, at events being like, do you always wear like, they didn't say it in a very happy way. They said it as like a critical, like, do you always wear yellow? As if it was like annoying them. And I was like, well, no, I don't. That was the answer. I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
why does I was like, do you not like yellow? And they were like, no, it's just that I always see you in yellow. I'm like, well, at least you've remembered me. I was like, you know who I am, don't you? And it's just like, why do you feel the need that,
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Random comments. But I think, like you said, it is trying to protect. Sometimes you need to protect yourself from it, and then sometimes you just think, oh, I don't. Let's just do it and see what happens.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and,
What's the
and
worst
that's
that
kind
can happen?
and that's kind of what I did with the group. It was an idea, and I did think about it for a little while. I mean, I don't think about things for very long, to be honest. I'm quite a
Just have to do it.
decisive person. If I'm doing it, I'm doing it. I'm quite impatient like that. But there was a part of me that was like, oh, is it going to get a bad reaction? Or am I going to get some negativity of this? And I haven't had any. And
Mm.
and it's been so nice. If anything, we've had quite a lot of allyship, allies trying to support, from and stuff. So that it's been really good. I had one comment where one person said to me, "Is there not a men's group?"
Oh
And
my God, I get
and
that
I said,
too.
and I was like, "Well, I I don't know because I'm a woman, but you could set one up,
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
know."
So we've had so much stick, Kate, when hosting like the ladies who can, and hosting like oh, the women in finance retreat, where me
Yeah,
and Kim went on to Wales. Now we had a hot tub, we had private chef, we obviously slept in this house, and men were commenting saying, well, what about the men? I was like, I don't think I can host a sleepover party for men and women, and then we all just get in a happy hot tub together, like
yeah,
there's just a place for that. I was like, but he was saying it in a very facetious way. It wasn't supportive. It wasn't like, oh my God, I love this, I want to get involved. It was like, well, what about the men? And I was like you, I was like, you're more than welcome to set up a slumber party, like a sleepover party with like the men in finance, and have yacht parties and whatever you want. But that's the point. That's been happening for years without
yeah,
us.
yeah.
And we
Years
need
and
a safe, yeah, years. And we need a safe space where we spoke about the menopause. We had a speaker about the
yeah,
menopause, and some women don't want to talk about their menopause in front of a man. Like, that's respectable. That's okay to be like that. And I really am such a huge advocate for, men's mental health groups or men's fitness groups, men's health groups, because there are certain situations that they go through that they need to talk to a guy. Like, that's
yeah.
okay. And I'm not here
100%.
to say no.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Well, like you said, like I've got no problem if a guy wants to set up a men's Facebook group, doesn't go for
Men
it.
in mortgages.
I think it would probably be quite a useful space, to be honest. Like you said, like if they want to talk about mental health or stress or all that kind of stuff, then I think it would be a good thing for them to have that space. But that doesn't take away from the fact that women need their own space.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah,
know,
there's a group that in property called Girls in Property, and then there's another guy. I know both of them, so I know the Girls in Property, and then there's another guy that's got Guys in Property, because he's talking about like his battle with mental health and stuff like that. So please, all out there. But the other thing I get a lot with the podcast is, oh, you only interview women, and it's a fact. I do only interview women, but I interviewed two guys in the past, because I was going to introduce the guy thing, right? I did interview two. One still remains, I've got nothing to not think he's not a good guy. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing out there to suggest he's not. But the other guy, so literally a 50% rate. So the 50% of the guys that I interviewed, I heard in terms of like his company, he didn't go ahead. What I found out about him was he wasn't paying his staff. There was a period he wasn't paying his staff. And then about a year later down the line, I heard that he had said something derogatory about me to another broker. It must have been a bit of a sexist or a bit of a sexy comment or something. And then this broker said to me, he was like, "Oh, Roz, like, you know, are you still working with that guy?" I was like, "I'm not actually, but why'd you ask?" And he was like, "Well, you should see the text he sent me about you." I was like, "What?" Like, he didn't show it to me. I went, "You know what? I don't even want to see it. I don't care." But that's why I'm now, for those guys who are listening to this and they're like, "Why doesn't she interview men?" I'm a little bit frightened to have the wrong guy on here, and woman. I've interviewed women, Kate, who have later come out in the industry, not in mortgages, in the property industry, that they are anything but women empowering women, anything but. They are on a mission to, if you're more talented and if you're perceived as a threat to that woman, she will shut you down and cancel you. So I am very nervous about men and women on this show, because I'm like, I think you're going to bring so much value, but
it does reflect back on you, right? So, you know,
yeah,
the
but I
guests you
don't
have
know.
and the guests you have on there are a reflection of you to a degree. So it's, you know, you are right to be careful of who you have on and when. You know, and I, to be fair, at the moment, my plan is to only have women on ours
Yeah,
because I want to give women that space. You know, there's plenty of podcasts out there that the men go on in mortgages,
yeah,
plenty of them.
exactly.
Like
Yeah,
I don't need to create another one.
yeah,
Whereas actually, yes, there are some women that speak on podcasts quite a lot. There are a few of it. You know, there's a few of us, and there's a few of my colleagues and my friends that, you know, great, get asked quite a bit. But there's also a hell of a lot of women that don't, who would be great to hear from, and I'd like to showcase some of them.
yeah.
So, you know, and just bring really valuable stuff to the women in mortgages and what they can earn. And some of my podcasts I am putting on LinkedIn as well, so that they're more, so that, because I feel like some of them, they deserve to have a little bit more
Yes,
exposure. But some of them probably won't, because it depends on what it's about and who it was for. So it's it's just nice to be able to support women in an industry that is still male dominated. So,
absolutely.
you know, and have that space for them. Although I was at the IMLA dinner last night, and that was quite evenly split for a dinner
Interesting.
or something like that. I was quite, it was pleasantly surprised that there was a lot of women there. Um,
That's brilliant.
yeah,
Nice.
it was really good. So it was
I
nice
do
to
think a lot of women go to events. I think the disparity is not events. I think it's on the board, really, is where we're seeing, you know,
the senior
that's where
leadership.
they're
Yeah,
seeing a leadership. Yeah. Oh, Kate, I could talk all day about this. I know I said
I
let's do 20
know.
minutes, but we've gone over as always.
Yeah,
Apologies. But
no,
actually, no,
it's
I'm not going to
fine.
apologize, because this has been like insane value for people. So I just
Oh,
want to say
thank
thank
you.
you for
Thanks for
being,
having me on
yeah,
and for
my
convincing me to do it today. Thank you. I needed to
Yeah,
do it.
because that is the whole point. We're all
Yeah,
busy, but we have to show up, because if we don't, then who will? So thank you for being a money honey on the show today.
thank you.
If you are in mortgages, in property, or in banking, and you want a supportive environment and a supportive community, well, you've got to right here. You know, so thank you for tuning in to the Money Honey. But there's also another community, which is Women in Mortgages. It's on the Facebook group. I'll put it in the show notes so that you can't miss it. Kate Fuller as well on LinkedIn. But please do contribute, and by, you know, just by listening is a huge contribution. But the little small acts of support that you can show is, you know, liking, sharing, commenting, you know, sending a little thank you DM to Kate, just saying that really hit home. You know, little things like that really contribute to us, you know, showing up every day and building this community for you. So thank you all for being a part of Women in Mortgages, but also the Money Honey. I will see you every week as usual with another episode of the Money Honey. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.